Today I'm going to show you 20 DIYs from Dollar Tree. I put a compilation video together of my most favorite dupes and inspired DIYs.
I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
I decided to use two chargers. They just put these out at my Dollar Tree and they are a pretty gold color, but I'm going to spray paint that. And I'm also going to use 4 of these bases. I just found these as well at my Dollar Tree and they're also going to be spray painted. So I used my black matte spray paint on the chargers and a white matte spray paint on the bases. So I'm going to have one charger upside down like you saw, and even though that was already black, I went ahead and spray painted just so it could be a matte black, and then I sprayed the top of the other one. So what we're going to do after everything was dried, I'm going to use my A6000 and hot glue like we've been doing so these items are sturdy. We're going to glue these bases together. So the first one's going to be this way, and then I'm doing the second one upside down, and then we'll do the same thing with the other two and have all 4 of them glued together. To assemble everything, I have the first charger upside down like we had mentioned, and this is the side I spray painted. I'm going to mark it with my pencil because I have to move the bases out of the way to add the glue. So I'm marking it, and then we'll add the glue and then add the bases on top. So that's going to be the base, and then we'll add the other charger facing the right side up, and it will go at the top. How gorgeous do the bases look glued together? I love the design of that. It is so pretty to me. Let me know what you would do differently if you would add a pizza pan. I also thought of that, but I really liked the design of the chargers, so that's why I decided to go with those. What I have on top is a Hobby Lobby base. Wait, did I get it from Hobby Lobby or Michael's? Oh shoot, I don't remember because I had been going to both because they have, you know, good sales right now, especially Michael's with I think 75 or 70% off. Anyways, I got that because I was obsessed with the rustic look of it, and I'm into the cottage look right now, so I love that, and I added my Amazon tulips in there. And this came out to be almost 2 feet tall at 23 inches. On to DIY number 3. This next one was super fun to do. I could not believe it worked out. So yeah, let's get started with this one. I'm using a canvas art piece from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to remove the whole canvas so I'm left with the frame. So once I removed everything from that frame, I'm going to bring in 2 shower caddies from Dollar Tree, and I forgot to tell you, I'm gonna make basically like a lantern / tray. So I'm gonna use the 2 parts at the top of these caddies, and I'll show you in a second. I'm just gonna take some stem cutters, and the easiest way I found it was to grab the piece that you want to remove, just twist back and forth just for a few seconds. I did it too long because I wasn't sure how tough it was gonna be, but once I twisted it back and forth, you can just pop it off. So you can bend it and it pops right off. Once I have those off, as you can see right here, I have one bent the way I want it to be bent. So it's gonna go like this at the corner. And what I'm gonna do is just show you how I do that. So this type of shower caddy from Dollar Tree is really easy to bend. So just play around with it, and I'm going to insert a photo right now so you can see kind of where the inspiration came from. I'm sure you've seen tons and tons of these lanterns, so I thought it'd be really cool to try to create at least somewhat of the way it came out. Not, I mean, it doesn't look exactly like it, but I thought it'd be really fun to try and recreate something like that. So to give this a bottom, I'm going to add these giant crab sticks. I have 7 of them, so all I'm doing is just cutting one side of it and then hot gluing it to the bottom. Now that I have the whole bottom part covered, I'm going to use my hot glue and some heavy duty clamps. They actually just started selling some from what I saw in my local Dollar Trees, heavy duty clamps, but these are from Home Depot. They were $1 each and I've been having them for a while. So I'm just setting it up like this to show you how it's going to look. So what I'm going to do is just let you see how I put this together. So I'm just going to add hot glue on the corners, add one side of this top shower caddy, and then clamp it in place. Now that I have both of those pieces glued on here, as you can see, I am going to use some more burlap for this DIY. I have clamps on one side still, and the other one I removed them because I'm going to go ahead and add this. So you'll see me cut a piece off right here and add it to the caddy that's connected to the frame just for a better hold. So I added the burlap to just those two sides for right now. Now what I'm going to do is take some yarn, or you can use twine, ribbon, whatever you like, just to secure the top. So I'm going to wrap this around here multiple times, and then I will remove those clamps and add the burlap to those corners. So you could leave it just like this, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is take some Dollar Tree beads and hot glue it along the top part of this lantern, and then we'll go outside and spray paint it with that white matte spray paint.
Been traveling alone, but now there's you. My whole world has changed.
I have 5 Dollar Tree canvases. These are all 5x7s. I actually got inspired by this from a Hobby Lobby one. It looks almost identical, the one I'm about to make, except mine is going to be turned horizontally and the one I saw was more of a vertical frame. So I wouldn't get confused. I moved one to the side because that one I'm not going to remove the canvas, and then the 4 frames I have, the one including in my hand, I am removing the canvases because I want to expose that wooden frame. And then whatever is stuck under the staples, because I'm not removing the staples, I'm just going to trim it off. Now, I have used tons of canvases like this, and I have recycled many, and I never know what to do with all of them. So that's why I didn't bother to try to save these. And then I'm going to sand them down with my sanding block from Dollar Tree so I can paint them. Now I'm going to use this hazelnut chalk paint from Waverly. I got it at Walmart for about $5, I believe. And I'm going to paint all 4 frames. To give it more of the look that I want, I'm adding some of this antique parchment from Apple Barrel in matte, and I'm just going to kind of dry brush some on top and wipe off the excess. You can do this however you want, but I do dry brush it at first, and it kind of seemed a little too harsh. So then I did start dipping the brush in a little bit of water and remove some of the excess water before brushing it on, because then it would just take longer to dry. I have those 4 frames on the side. The 5th canvas that I am going to leave the actual canvas on, I'm going to use my moss chalk paint on here. And so what I'm going to do with this is, again, I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. And I also am taking that same brush that I have some of the antique parchment creamy paint on. And so that's going to help lighten up the green a little bit and look more spring-like. Now I'm going to take this Dollar Tree wall decal, and I'm going to cut out the word 8, and I'm going to apply that to the center of the green canvas. So I have made many window panes on my channel. Even though this is not really a window pane, it's practically a whole big sign that I'm making. So that's why through this part, I'm just gonna fast forward and show you. It's just gluing all 4 together. It's really simple. If you haven't done it before, then I will definitely just show you real quick how I glue all of them together. I'm measuring about 4 inches on the sides and 3 inches on the top and bottom. So once I get that, I'm gonna mark where the frame is at so I can pick up the frame and add hot glue to keep it in place. For a little extra support, I like to add crab sticks, or in my case right now, tumbling tower blocks, to the back right here just to keep the frames all together. I'm using 4 canvases. I'm going to glue these 2 together and then the other 2 together. And I'm just using my hot glue. So to connect these 2 together, I'm using some Dollar Tree wooden dowels, and I'm just going to take one out to kind of see about how much higher I want the second one to be above the bottom one. And I did it about 6 inches from each other. So we're going to cut the dowels at 6 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and use 8 of them. So now I'm going to go ahead and add these 6-inch wooden dowels to this bottom part of the frames. And you don't want to add all 8 of them yet, just a couple of them at first. That way you can go ahead and glue the top frame to the top of these dowels. I only have 3 6-inch dowels glued down, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the top part of the frames right here, and then I'll add the rest of the dowels.
I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna be.
So now all 8 of the dowels are on here. To finish assembling the little crate, I'm going to add some giant craft sticks at the bottom, so that way there is a bottom to this. That way I can add stuff inside. So I'm just using the giant Walmart craft sticks, and I'm going to use 10 of them. So I'm going to cut them down to size and then hot glue those on. Again, this is something you can paint whatever colors you choose to. I'm gonna water down my, well, not water down the paint, but put water on my brush. That way the paint is not so harsh. And I'm gonna start off with this cashew chalk paint, and then I'll go over it with my hazelnut chalk paint. You can leave it like this where it looks a little more rustic looking, but I'm actually going to add a little bit more water and kind of go over it better so it's kind of more of a solid color. There are so many different ways you could style this, so I'm going to show you a couple of them. Everything you see here is from Dollar Tree except for the white IKEA picture with the yellow and white flowers. Those flowers are from Dollar Tree. The little tiny lanterns from Dollar Tree, and the candle holder I actually made in my previous video, which was super simple and was a Pottery Barn inspired. This second piece, all I did was add 4 Dollar Tree vases with more of those Dollar Tree flowers. Oh, and the hello sign I've been having for I think like 2-3 years now from Dollar General. For the next DIY, I'm making a candle sconce. Now I'm painting the frames white after removing the canvases from the frame. Now I'm using a Dollar Tree wreath charm and I'm going to paint it black. Doing a double frame with the canvases. Otherwise I would have done 2, but I realized this wreath charm needs a thicker, I guess, base to glue onto. So that's why I doubled the frames, and you'll see what I mean right now. I'm going to glue both of them on top of each other so I have a thicker base for the wreath charm. Now I'm using the hazelnut on top of the white paint with a bristled brush. And now for the fun part, we're gonna decorate this candle sconce. So this is what I mean when I say I'm going to add the other one on top. But first, before doing that, I'm gonna create a little design with the strips of sun hat. I'm starting off from one corner to the other corner, and I'll go ahead and just let you watch because it's kind of hard to explain, but it's very easy to just see instead. Alright, and once I cut off the excess, I am going to add the last 2 strips this way. And I realized that I needed that bottom part of the frame to add the wreath charm. And so I just removed that little area of the sun hat strips. Remember how I said I needed the frames to be doubled so that bottom part where the wreath charm is going to sit is thicker, and it's just better to add 2 frames, so that's why I did that. First I'm going to hot glue the frame on, and then we will add the wreath charm. Even though I'm only adding a Dollar Tree candle to the wreath charm on top, I want to add a little extra support with a tumbling tower block. So I'm adding that to the bottom, and then I will paint the bottom black. So I just stuck some Dollar Tree greenery behind the candle. The candle is lightweight, so don't worry about this falling. And again, to hang this up, you just want to use command strips. Using these 2 Dollar Tree signs, and I really wanted to use these because it has that really pretty wooden edge, or the frame of the picture is just really pretty, so I thought it would be perfect to make the lantern out of. So I already removed part of the little sign in the center. It just says feels good to be home. I'm going to save that for a different DIY, and I need to remove both of them, that way I can have a flat surface to paint. So with that little wooden, or it's not wooden, it's like a cardboard piece to hold up the sign to make it look more 3D, I'm just using my scissors to kind of help me take that off. And you see how it's kind of ripped? I'm going to go ahead and sand that down just a little bit to make it more flat. And then I will be painting both of the centers of this sign black. And And I'm just going to use my matte black from Apple Barrel and paint the centers like I mentioned. What I like to do is just start off kind of on the edges, not putting too much paint, and then I will fill in the center. Now I'm going to grab my Dollar Tree wooden dowels, and I think I take out about 6 of them to paint them black, but I only used 4 because I was going to use the other 2, since I took out 6, for something in a little bit that I'll tell you about, and I ended up changing that to something else. So I'm going to use 4 like this. I'm going to cut them down after I paint them, but I wasn't too sure how tall or short I wanted the lantern yet until I actually painted them and stuck them on the side like you just saw, and then I realized, okay, it needs to be a little bit shorter, so I will cut them down a little. So it's not glued down yet. I just have it standing there to kind of see if that was how high I wanted it, and it was. So then I used that one as a template to cut the rest of them. I'm going to add a good amount of glue to the corners of the frame on the inside right here, and I'm going to show you. And then once I do, I will stick the dowel right there and just hold it in place for a few seconds so it gets nice and glued very well. I have all 4 dowels on there, so now I'm going to grab the other one and I'm going to add hot glue in those 4 corners and then add it like this, very carefully not to break off any of the dowels. Then I grabbed my level and put it at the top just to make sure it was as straight as possible. Now I'm going to turn it back around the way I had it, and then at the top part, you don't want to see the cardboard piece at the top. So I'm going to remove that piece of hardware right there, sand it down a little, and paint that black on top as well. For this next part, I decided to use my Dollar Tree craft sticks instead of the dowels like I had mentioned earlier. I was going to use those 2 extra dowels for this next part, but I decided to use the craft sticks and it did come out way better than I expected, so that's good. So I'm taking 8 craft sticks. I'm going to cut the round ends off first and then I will paint them black too. Another thing I forgot to mention was that I love using Dollar Tree craft sticks because they cut so easily like paper. I love using them. They're just way easier to cut. The lantern looks really pretty already, but I'm going to add a little bit of detail and I'm going to show you that in a second. So I'm going to lay it down and I will glue the craft sticks onto the sides. I'm going to go about 1 inch from the frame. So that's just going to help me make sure that it's all pretty straight. And I completely forgot to mention where I got the inspiration from. So I saw this on Kirkland's and I thought I could make something similar, and that is how I got the inspiration to do these crab sticks on the sides, and I think that just makes the look even more modern and high-end. So I'm gonna glue these, and then that will be it for this DIY. So what I have inside the lantern is a Dollar Tree jar. I just removed the lid, added one of those little battery operated candles, and then I have it inside of a Hobby Lobby tray. I have an IKEA vase with some Walmart greenery, and then the tiny little container. I made that in a DIY. This next inspired DIY is very easy, a little bit tedious, but it was actually really fun to make. So I just have a Dollar Tree picture frame with this really pretty saying. It just says, "Family is a gift that lasts forever." So this one is another Kirkland's inspired DIY. I saw a really pretty frame on there and I thought it'd be kind of easy to make. So I decided to come up with my own little way to get that look. And if you guessed I was going to use craft sticks, I totally did. So as you can see, I cut off the ends of my craft sticks because I do that anyways for a lot of my DIYs. So I thought it would be perfect and easy since the craft sticks, well, the Dollar Tree craft sticks are easy to cut through. It was pretty easy to do. I just figured out about how much of the end part I wanted, and then I used that one as a template and cut all of them out. Now I didn't count them because that was just something I forgot. But once I cut them, I kind of start sitting them in the corners, or not in the corners, but in the edges of the frame. And then that was how I figured out how many I needed. And I think I still had some left over, but that's okay. So this would also be a good idea to do to any frame that you want to add detail to. Now I had to think of something to put underneath these, like the Kirkland's one. And you guessed it, I'm using more craft sticks. So this is perfect because I'm just going to take the ones that I already cut the ends off of, and I'm going to place them along the frame. And then I will just mark off the excess with my pencil, cut that off, and then we're going to paint them black. Picture of how I have it before I take them off and paint them. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me. My washer is in the background, but yes, this is a perfect example of waiting to cut. You need to paint the ends first, or paint the whole craft stick first if you want. Because this part is honestly not that hard to do. I mean, I'm just going like this to paint it, to keep it in place, and it does stay. If I just go on top like this, it drags. But if I push the paint, the tip of the paint stick down where it's flat like that, it stays in place. It doesn't really move. So sorry about that noise in the clip before this one. But I just remember I had to explain to y'all about that. So now what we're going to do is add the border, hot glue that down first. Put all of them down, and I don't know if you can see, but I did accidentally crack it. I was pushing a little bit too hard on the glass, so just be careful because, you know, it is Dollar Tree and it's not real heavy duty. So now I'm just going to place the ends of the craft sticks right here on the sides, and then we'll glue them down too.
lost outside of nowhere. A stormy rain tried to wash away the dream.
For this next one, I'm using 6 of these wooden trays from Dollar Tree. Now I'm gonna set them down right here on the table the way I want them to look, but of course it's gonna be standing up. So right here I was just trying to figure out exactly about how far apart I wanted them, and I do end up spreading them out about 4 inches from each other. So the first thing I am going to do is glue the 2 of them together just like this. So I just go around that little cutout star and add my hot glue and glue them together. So I got the inspiration for this from Pinterest. I seen actually a huge like crate looking wall decor for like outdoors, and it just gave me the inspiration to make something smaller, of course, but it just obviously does not look the same, but the inspiration is there and it came out so pretty. So I hope y'all are able to make this. Now the good thing is you can use hot glue for this whole thing, because what I add inside is a few flowers and a little bit of Spanish moss, and it has no weight to it whatsoever. So hot glue is perfect for this. Now I'm going to paint all 3 of them black, and I'm also going to paint the top edges as well. I'm not going to worry about the inside because we're going to add the flowers. Oh, and I'm also not going to worry about these sides because I'm going to cover that up with something. So now what we're going to do is take the adhesive wall tiles from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to take this and we are going to figure out about how big I need to cut them to fit the sides, and then I will hot glue them on. It does have that adhesive, but I'll show you right now, it doesn't really stick on, so it's just better to hot glue it. So once I have one of those cut out, I will cut the remaining 5, so I have a total of 6 for each side of those trays. So you see that white piece right there? I need to remove that too because it's not even completely on there because I cut it up. So I'm gonna just take that off and then I'll hot glue all of them. So I found more of these really long bamboo skewers from Dollar Tree. So this is going to be perfect for this. So I'm going to use some of these on here to connect the trays together. So I marked my paper at the bottom. So all of them are about 4 inches apart. Now I can place my skewer on the side and mark that. And I'm going to cut them to that length. So I'll use this one as a template to cut the rest. So I ended up only needing 4. I wasn't too sure where I was going to add these skewers at yet, and once I figured that out, I had painted 6, but I'll use the other 2 for something else, and I think I use one for the next DIY. So now I am going to hot glue the first skewer down in the center to cover up the separation between the 2 trays, and I'm going to start off with the bottom tray. So now I'm going to hot glue the skewer to the top tray. That's the last one I need to do. And then I can turn it around and do the same thing to the back. So as you can see throughout the clips, I am using my L square, which is that Dollar Tree ruler, just to make sure it is about 4 inches apart. So that way when I do stand it up, it is pretty straight. To assemble the trays together, I'm going to go ahead and lay it back down and add the 2 skewers on each side where the tiles are at. So this is just for a better hold of the whole little decor piece. For the fun part, we're going to add Spanish moss to each of the 6 trays, and it is from Dollar Tree. I've been having it in my craft closet for a really long time. They always have it though when I go by Dollar Tree. So I'm just gonna take some out of there. The only thing I hate is it always makes a lot of mess. But if you want, you could also add the green moss as well. They have different types all the time, so whatever you like, you can add that. And then I'm gonna add my Dollar Tree flowers in there. So these little pretty pink peachy flowers are from Dollar Tree. I don't know the name of them, but they look like tulips to me. So what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna cut out some vinyl words and I'm gonna add tulips to the front of this on one side. And then in the center, I'm gonna add some Dollar Tree lavender, and I'll also add that word. And then for the bottom tier, I'm gonna add some Dollar Tree magnolia flowers. Oh my goodness, it is just so cute. I really, really like the way it looks. So this is whenever I was like, okay, it would look so, so cute if I added the vinyl words. So there are many, many ideas of what you can add into these little trays. So if you were to add flowers, what kind of flowers would you put? Or if you were to add greenery, you could do that too. I was thinking about that, but I decided to just add flowers. You could even paint it a different color if you want. It's just, the options are always endless for my DIYs. I am going to use this Dollar Tree birdhouse, and the first thing I'm going to do is paint the house part of it white, and then the roof and bottom base I will paint it with my hazelnut chalk paint. So the inspiration for this last one also came from Kirkland's, except I did kind of change it up by using the birdhouse, and I got my paint colors mixed up. So what I did right here was add the white paint first, kind of like a primer, and then I'm going to paint it with my hazelnut chalk paint, and then the top part of the roof and the base will be black. So for the bottom piece to this DIY that I'm doing, I'm going to use this container. It's wooden and it is from Dollar Tree. As you can see, I have used it before. I actually used this during Christmas time. I can't believe I still have it. So that's good. I like to recycle stuff. So what I'm going to do is just use that part that is red, not the lid, just the bottom part. But I turned it around so I can paint this whole side with my black paint. I already drilled a hole in this during Christmas time, so this was like in November, December. So it already has a hole, so that's perfect because I'm gonna add a dowel in there. I'm actually using one of those dowels that I used for the previous DIY, and I am gonna cut it down too. So at the bottom of this, you can see that I did add hot glue, and it did stay in place pretty well, but to keep it more secure, I'm adding more hot glue under there, and I'm going to put a piece of fluorofoam. So to add the birdhouse at the top, since I didn't have the drill, like I said, if you do, you can just drill a hole at the bottom and just stick the dowel in underneath there. So since I didn't have that, what I did was grab some tumbling tower blocks, and this is just going to help it stay glued onto the dowel at the top. So I'm just going to hot glue those on, and then I will glue the birdhouse to the dowel. And for a little bit more of security, I'm just going to take a piece of burlap. I'm going to add hot glue and put this on the back just for more of the glue to be on the back and not just the front of one side of the dowel. And at last, I made a small wreath from some greenery that I had on hand, and I'm just going to add it to the birdhouse right here. You are halfway there. Here's DIY number 10. These 4 canvases are going to be used as the bottom base of this wishing well. Now, to make it easier on yourself, you don't need to remove the canvases. I did that because I was going for a specific look that didn't really work out. So just leave the white canvases on. It's easier that way. I'm using this self-adhesive tile from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cover all 4 pieces with it. I'm marking it off with my pencil first, and then I will cut it out and add it to the frame. Once I have the tile on these 2 frames, now I'm going to add hot glue on the inside right here just to keep all of this down and in place. Now I'm going to use my L square ruler to help me build the bottom base. All I have to do is glue all 4 of the frames together. So as you can see, I have 2 frames that have the canvas on them, and then the other 2 have the wooden tile. So that was the look I was going to go for at first, but then I realized I really didn't like the way that looked. So I went ahead and added the tile to the other 2. So now all 4 have the tile, and it just looks better that way and more cohesive. For a better hold on the frames, you can add craft sticks and hot glue right where the frames meet on the inside, and then you can go ahead and paint all the borders of the frames on the inside as well. Now we're going to make the roof of the wishing well. So I'm grabbing 13 Dollar Tree craft sticks for one side, so you need 26 in total. So now I am showing you that I have all 4 sides of the canvases covered with the tile. All I had to do to add it to the other 2 that had the white canvas was just paint the edges with my hazelnut chalk paint. And that was it. And then I added it to the front. So now I think it just looks way better this way. And then to the 13 craft sticks, or 26, I'm showing you 13 right here, I cut off the ends on one side. I have a Dollar Tree wooden dowel, and what we're going to do is add hot glue starting right here at the end, and I'm placing one of the craft sticks with the side that is cut off right here at the top. As you can see, I left the bottom part round. I just left that alone, that way it looks like a cute little roof. So I'm going to let that dry right here in place, and then I will add hot glue to the opposite side and add the other craft stick. So this part on making the roof of the wishing well is a little tedious, but it is very therapeutic for me. Now that my little roof is all finished, I'm going to cut off the rest of that wooden dowel with my stem cutters. A pack of giant craft sticks from Walmart. You can use whatever you have on hand. I'm going to use this on the side right here on each side of the roof. So I'm going to cut it off just like this on each side and then hot glue it down. I'm using 4 of the giant craft sticks from Walmart. I cut off the ends on both sides. I'm going to glue 2 together, so that way it's just a little more heavy duty, because I'm going to attach this to the roof and then to the base of the wishing well. So I'm going to attach it to the roof first. I'm adding hot glue and then I'm attaching it right here. So that's why I added these two pieces on each side of the roof. Alright, the last thing I did to this roof before painting it is adding another dowel to the top right here. So I'm just going to add hot glue and finish that off just to make it look better, and add hot glue and the dowel. And of course, I'm using my hazelnut chalk paint to paint the whole roof. What I did was cut out another piece of foam board for this DIY as well and add it to the bottom with hot glue, just so it has a base, and then I can add some flowers in there. So now I'm adding the roof just like this. I'm going to add hot glue and attach it. I'm actually really amazed at how pretty this came out. I think it's just so cute. This will look pretty with any type of flowers that you have. I have 3 stems of greenery and white flowers in here from Walmart. Why I'm making a candle holder similar to the one from Pottery Barn. So I'm starting off with this Dollar Tree charger plate. So I'm going to go outside and spray paint it with some white spray paint, and this is basically just to give it a good base coat before applying my antique wax. So if you don't have spray paint, you can easily just paint it with some white paint that you have. And now I'm going to use a good bristle brush. I start off real slow like this just to kind of see how it's going to look and how dark I want the antique wax to look. I'm using a bristled brush because it makes it look a little more realistic as far as how wood would look. While that is drying, I'm going to take 2 tumbling tower blocks and a cube, and these are from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint them the same way with that antique wax. I also picked up 3 glass vases or jars from Dollar Tree, and what I'm going to do to make it look a little more like the Pottery Barn ones, I'm going to hot glue the wooden pieces underneath the candle holders and attach them to the charger plate. And I'm going to use these Dollar Tree candles. These actually smell really good, but once you light them, you cannot smell them. But when I was unwrapping it, I was like, oh my god, these actually smell really good. But once I lit it, you couldn't really smell anything. Alright, so the last thing I did was pick up these pebbles from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add them to the tray at the bottom. So now that you see how this DIY came out, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, well, maybe I want the rocks or the pebbles a different color because they do have different ones at Dollar Tree, or I want the tray a specific color. So just go with your style. This is all customizable to how you want yours to look. Using this Dollar Tree glass votive, and I was inspired by this Pottery Barn piece. So I am using this non-slip rug underlay from Dollar Tree, and I'm just gonna hot glue this on. It is really simple and it does make a big difference. Once I put it with all of my decor, I was like, wow, this does look very high end. So all I'm doing is just taking a piece of it because I've used it before for a previous DIY video, and I'm starting off at the top rim of the votive. And I would advise to put a pretty thick line of hot glue because I did start off with a very thin one, and then when I put the underlay on top of it, it just didn't even stick. It just came off. So you want to put a pretty thick line of glue and it will stick perfectly. I wasn't able to fully go all the way around the votive, but that's okay. I'm just going to add a piece once I'm done. And now I'm just going to cut the bottom part off and hot glue all the bottom part down now. Piece that was missing right there, I just added a piece, and now once that's done, what I'm gonna do is just go along the top with my scissors, and if anything is sticking up like hot glue or any of that underlay, I can cut it off. Now for DIY number 13. So I removed absolutely everything, including the staples. I only left a couple on some of the corners because that's how they're attached to each other. So, and then I sanded them down. Now, you guys already know to make a lantern, you're just gonna hot glue all 4 of them together. I'm gonna use some Dollar Tree crab sticks. Now, 1 pack of Dollar Tree crab sticks is more than enough for this next step that we're gonna do. So I cut off the round ends on the crab sticks, and we're gonna use 20 for the sides right here. So this is not including anything else. I'll let y'all know those numbers in a second. I'm gonna hot glue down 4 of the crab sticks on each side of this lantern, which makes 16. So you're gonna leave the other 4 off to the side. Crab sticks glued down. So now what I'm gonna do is use some giant Walmart crab sticks for the center of this. So I'm gonna take 4 of them, cut them down to size, and hot glue them down. I'll use those last 4 crab sticks for the sides of the lantern. The last Dollar Tree crab sticks we're going to hot glue on here are going to be at the top of this. So I'm going to have 9 up here. And so in all, for the Dollar Tree crab sticks, you're going to need 29. And then you can apply anything to the center. I use those giant Walmart crab sticks, like I said. But if you have something else that you could put in the middle, you can add that instead if you don't have the giant ones. Of course, I completely forgot to show you my inspiration Pottery Barn piece, but I'll insert a clip right here. So now that this is done, I am going to use my antique wax and go over the whole thing. So I start off on the inside and then work my way outside. Sand the whole thing down one more time. So I forgot that I needed to add a handle to the top. Of course, I'm not really going to use it for that. So what I have is just 2 tumbling tower blocks and a wooden dowel, all from Dollar Tree. And I'm gonna hot glue it, and I'll show you right now how I did that. So I added 2 of those Dollar Tree candles I showed y'all earlier inside of here, just because the inside of this is pretty big, so you could even add 3 if you wanted to. And of course, I'm not gonna light them because it will catch on fire. So this is definitely just for decor purposes. It's actually a burner cover. They come in a 2-pack at Dollar Tree. I was originally going to use the back side that I just showed you and add the other part of that decal, but I realized the front part looks pretty already and it looks nice. I like the greenery and where the wording is at, so I decided to use the front part. I'm going to start by hot gluing the Dollar Tree nautical rope around the whole burner cover. And I'm going to cut off the end of that rope because it's kind of taped up and it looks shiny. So you can do that if you want. Just be careful because it does kind of fray apart. So just make sure you hold it in place with the hot glue or add more hot glue to the top of that. So the inspiration for this came from Kirkland's. This sign is actually a really huge sign, but I just really liked the way the beaded area looked, and I thought it would be really cool to use something I'm about to show y'all. There are so many different options you can go with as far as, you know, non-Dollar Tree items, but I try my best to use as many Dollar Tree items just to make it easier to go to just one store and not have to go to so many other stores. So here it is. I am using the Dollar Tree bath mat for the beaded area. So as you can see, I already have it kind of chopped up because I did use it in my last video, I believe. So I do have some already painted white. What I'm going to go ahead and do is cut out the ones I already have painted and then paint however many more I need to place a border around the sign next to the rope. Again, there are many options you can go with, but I tried to do, you know, something different, something unique. And of course, it was only $1. So I've done many signs like this, and I've also used the Dollar Tree beads. I think they come with like 4 or 6, so you can go with that if you want to. You can use the wooden beads if you want. They also have some small wooden beads at Dollar Tree as well. They come in a 20-pack, I believe. So there's just many options that you can go with. Just pick what you like or what you have. Right here, I'm just showing you real quick how I painted them. I do 2 coats, so once I do a full first coat, then I go over it real quickly with a second coat. And the second coat of paint is with this antique parchment from Apple Barrel. Since on the sign from Kirkland's, it's kind of like an off-white, it's not too white, I wanted to go with that. So that's why I'm going over it with this paint, and it also sort of matches the nautical rope. It also would be smart to wait to cut out the round dots. And now just to hot glue each dot down. So I just add a little bit of that glue to one side of the dot, and then I kind of tuck it under the rope a little bit. So another thing I forgot to mention is that I also like these dots because of how big they are. So if you do use like the necklaces from Dollar Tree or the little 20-pack of wooden beads from Dollar Tree, they're smaller. So that's why I liked using these dots from the bath mat. Two Dollar Tree containers that are made out of cardboard. So one of them I just keep the little tumbling tower blocks. So as you can see, I have 2 different heights. The bigger one I bought during Christmas time, and then the smaller one was purchased recently in the craft section. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my white chalk paint to paint both containers and lids. So the inspiration for these containers came from Amazon. I actually found the picture off of Instagram. Somebody posted it, and forgive me, I don't remember who it was. Sometimes I forget to see who the source is, so maybe you might know. You can comment down below and let me know. That way I can give them credit. But a lot of people post like Amazon favorites on Instagram, and so I saw these Amazon containers and I thought they were so pretty. So these jars are inspired by those from Instagram. I'm going to use my antique wax to paint the lids, both of them. And the reason I painted them white was just basically to give it a base coat. And I feel like the wax goes on looking more like a wood tone, I guess. So I start off very lightly with a stippled brush. It's very important in my experience to use a stippled brush to make it look more like wood. So like I said, I start off lightly and you can just build from there however dark you want it to look. These two small wooden blocks from Dollar Tree. It comes in a pack in the crafter square, and this is going to go on top of the lid. So if you have something else you want to use, you totally can. Alright, so these are how my lids turned out. Now I'm going to go ahead and just hot glue down the small little cubes to the top. You guessed that I was going to use the dots from the bath mat on the containers. You are right. I'm just going to hot glue them down. So for the smaller one, I am kind of doing the same thing as the ones from Amazon. The smaller one, I'm kind of spreading them around. And then to the larger container, I'm just going to do one row at the top. I'm going to go over it one more time with my white chalk paint. To the left is my ceiling fan. That's why it looks like that. I have the Magnolia Dollar Tree flowers in there with some Walmart greenery. And then that really pretty vase in the background is from Hobby Lobby that I got on clearance for a really good price. I think it was like, I believe $6. 2 Dollar Tree wire hanging baskets. What we're going to do here is basically make a kind of like a cake stand or a tier tray, whatever you want to call it. I have actually seen something like this at Target, I believe. Now, the only thing is I could not find a picture. I've seen it on Instagram, in people's restrooms, in their kitchens, next to their sinks. Maybe you know what I'm talking about once you see it. I removed the little hooks sticking up on top of one of them already, just with my stem cutters. This tray, I'm going to take one of them and put it upside down. Grab the other one and place it on top of it. And now what we're going to do to combine both of them is take my floral wire, and they have these at, or they have this at Dollar Tree. And you're just going to wrap it around the whole thing and it will stay in place. It is definitely easier to just cut off pieces of the floral wire and wrap it around. If you try to do it like that, the way I just had it, it's just too long and too big to try to twist in and out of the basket. So just cut small pieces. I'm going to take the smaller one of the two burner covers from Dollar Tree. So there is a larger one and smaller one, and it comes in a 2-pack. And I'm going to place it upside down in the basket. So I have some fake greenery inside of a terracotta pot on top of there with some Hobby Lobby beads. I have this really pretty tea towel from Hobby Lobby and my white tulips. They are located down below in my Amazon store. It is a really good price for a huge amount. So I bought them last year. This Dollar Tree tray. And for this planter, I'm making a trellis with this. This is really simple. All I did was take some Dollar Tree dowels, and I did not cut these two down that I'm going to use, and I hot glued 2 of them down on each side of the tray on the back side. And as you can see, I apply a lot of hot glue right there, so I can stick it on top of it and then I'll hold it in place, make sure it's pretty straight, and I'll do the same on the opposite side.
Baby, it's now or never. Gotta leave this town and I know what you're asking for.
Once those were dried really well, I cut a piece to fit at the top right here, and I'm just gonna add hot glue and hot glue that part down. Once that was done, I laid it down and I grabbed those really thin skewers that I still have a lot of, and I'm just gonna figure out about how far apart and how many I want, and I'm going at a diagonal, going from left to right first. Now that I have that part done, as you can see, I turned it around on the opposite side to go the opposite way from, what did I say earlier? I think from, I was going left to right, so now I'm going right to left, but I turned around on the back side just so you won't see all of this hot glue on the other side. The last thing I did before adding the greenery was use my antique wax all over this, and I used a little bit of water on my brush so it wasn't super dark. Greenery at the bottom of the tray from Dollar Tree, all I did was just remove the greenery from the stems by just pulling it off. So now what I'm going to do is just add 2 of the greenery pieces on each side, kind of going up on the sides, just to make it look a little more full, and it looks prettier like that too. This would also be really pretty if you made another one of these and you can put them on the wall as sconces. I just think that would be super pretty too. Really long signs, and I always like to pick some up for DIYs. So as you can see, this is the Easter one. What I'm going to do is turn it on the back side, and since that foot is kind of sticking out, I'm going to remove that, and we're going to paint this whole side black. I just used a black matte apple barrel paint from Walmart, and I'm now going to use these $3 Dollar Tree signs as shelves on the big Easter sign. Keeping the wooden beads from those 3 signs, and I'm actually going to use them in a later DIY. And I'm going to hot glue those down about 6 inches apart, and I also painted the inside of the signs white. This 100 pack of Dollar Tree skewers, I'm going to use them on the sides of these shelves to kind of make it look like they're hanging from them, but of course we know they're not. Don't worry, I'm going to show you a way that I will reinforce these shelves so they don't fall. They're going to be about 5 inches from the top to the bottom of the shelves. Okay, so I have them all done on each side. What I'm going to do is go ahead and paint the sides of the shelf with my hazelnut chalk paint. I was going to just leave it white, but once I put it all together, I didn't really like that it was too white. So I'm going to go over it with this, but then once I do that, I still don't like how brown it is. So then I go over it with my cashew chalk paint, and then after that I was happy with the way it looked. What I needed to do to these shelves is add something to the bottom for support. I'm not gonna put nothing heavy on them, just so it stays secure. I'm gonna add hot glue to the side and the bottom, so the jingle piece is secure and glued down to the bottom of the shelf and to the sign. Color of the Jenga pieces, you can paint it black so it blends in with the background, or you can paint it the same color as the shelves. Everything I have on each shelf is from Dollar Tree except for the little picture on the center shelf. I got that from the thrift store a while back. I don't even know if I can call this next one a DIY because that is how simple it is. I picked up these two unique detailed plastic bowls from Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna go ahead and glue them onto each other. So I've seen some really pretty expensive bowls that look like this. Once you see it done, you'll see what I mean. And I thought, oh, I could easily glue those together and spray paint them. This dark brown burnished amber color, and this one is actually hammered. That just means that it leaves sort of a texture on it or over it once it dries. I did not think I was gonna like this one as much as I do. I just think it is so unique and pretty, and just think what spray paint can do to a plastic bowl. It's so pretty. I just added some Dollar Tree hydrangeas in there, and I kind of left a little opening in the center just because I thought it looked nice like that, but you could also fill them up completely. This Dollar Tree sign. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. Please let me know which one is your favorite. The first thing I'm doing is painting the sign lightly with my antique wax. I always start off lightly at first, and then I just build on. Three rows of 5 from the tumbling tower blocks, and I'm going to glue them the same way I did earlier with my ruler. And I'm sorry, I actually did 4 rows of 5, so 20 of the tumbling tower blocks. So the first thing I'm going to do is hot glue the very first row all the way at the top. Once I do that, I'm going to take some Dollar Tree wooden dominoes from the toy section. And it's so funny because the only reason why I even know about these dominoes is because my father-in-law started to play dominoes with my son, my 7-year-old. And so when I went to Dollar Tree recently, I saw dominoes walking through there, and they were these little wooden dominoes, and I bought them for him to play with. So he did play with them a few times, and then, you know, he stopped playing with them. When I saw this sign, I immediately thought of the little wooden dominoes. And so I was like, oh my God, I need to pick them up because we left them at my in-laws' house. So I was like, I have to pick them up so I can use them for this. So now, as you can see, I'm hot gluing down 4 of them. I was just trying to get the placement right. I'm going to spell out Home Sweet Home. So after I glued down this second row, then I placed 5 more dominoes. So I have the 4 rows, as you can see, and then I have 13 dominoes. I decided to use my Cricut to spell out Home Sweet Home because I wanted a specific look for this, but you can always pick up some word transfers from Dollar Tree, or they have a bunch of poster stickers. There's so many options that you can choose from, like always with many of my DIYs. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate y'all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.
I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.